see 50, 100 fish down there. Now they won't all bite, and you had to figure out how to trigger them, but once you got them triggered, it was dynamite.
Ding.
129 pounds and some change. 129.
In this format, it's all about getting on groups of fish. You can catch one here and one there and maybe make the cut, but if you're gonna win the round or win an event, you have to understand, either have to be super dialed in on a certain pattern and run around the lake and be able to do that, or you have to find groups of fish. It was 2 different lakes. Like, you know, and waters dropped, the conditions constantly changed. And that's what made it so much fun. You had to literally show up and start practicing and say, okay, forget everything I just did. Let's go figure this thing out.
All right, so we have just had an opportunity to glance back in time to Table Rock Lake, Missouri. Had a chance to review episode number 7 of the Bass Pro Tour on Discovery Channel. Sitting across from me is the guy who left Table Rock with a trophy and put up the most ridiculous numbers that you will probably ever see in any kind of bass competition. Jacob, congratulations. I know it's great to look back on a very successful week, but holy smokes, the numbers that came out of Table Rock Lake that week were astounding.
Unbelievable. I mean, anywhere you went on the lake, you get a bite. And between the smallmouth, largemouth, you know, and the spotted bass, it was just a combination of it all. And I think that was what's so cool about Table Rock. It's such a unique fishery, and you can do whatever you want to. You can fish shallow, caught fish shallow all week, caught fish deep all week, caught fish on docks. There's so many different things you can do, and that's what I'm like. I love that fishery.
The thing that happened that week on that fishery is that the rest of the country got to see it in a different light. So it's a very popular fishery for tournaments. We've been there many times, but it's never been displayed in the light of a catch as many fish as you can event. We've never been able to display just how prolific Table Rock Lake really is.
No, when you look at the numbers of fish these anglers caught, and you know, I had an unbelievable day, and then day one and shotgun round, and you know, each day was crazy though. Like, and that's what is so cool. And then you add that, like with the largemouth, the smallmouth, the spotted bass, you have just that whole dynamic. It's just completely different than any other fishery that we go to.
Shotgun round, Group A, number 1, 129 pounds, 14 ounces for you, and Shin Fukai not that far behind with over 100 pounds as well. That gave a little bit of a hint at the possibility that we were going to see something truly spectacular that week.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, when you look at that, and shotgun round is once you get to that point, you're like, where you feel like you're safe. I mean, everybody wants to win. You don't go out there to finish second. I don't care. And it's a qualifying round. That is where it is, you know.
That's right.
A shotgun elimination those 2 days it's your qualifying to the next round. You go to knockout. So you don't always want to show your whole hand. But for me, it was like, I knew there was enough community stuff, and I'm sure Shin, I don't know how Shin, I think Shin was fishing the same way offshore. You got to be careful, because like those fish get accustomed to seeing the same stuff, and even though we're catching them, weighing them, and releasing those fish, they might go back to the school, but they're going to be a heck of a lot harder to catch again.
Well, that's right. And also following up, Group B had to go. For all you knew, somebody else was fishing the exact same spot.
Absolutely,
you were throwing the exact same stuff.
And exactly, and that was sort of my strategy. I knew that the places that I had that were a little bit sneakier, it's all strategy. That's why I love this game so much, because it comes down to the fact of understanding. So I knew I was day one in Group A, and so I said, okay, look, I can throttle them on day one on the places that are very community holes. I assume, you know, big points, places that are obvious. But those are where big groups of fish are going to be at.
Makes sense for that time of year.
You know, hey, catch them every cast. Like, I mean, at one point in time, I feel like I caught like 22 or 23 and 23 casts. You're just sitting there and just like every cast, you're just like, oh, there's one, you lose it, another one gets it. But then later on in the week, that wasn't the case on those fisheries, on those places. You had to sort of abandon that stuff. So that was. I mean, I just reminisce going back. I mean, you go to a fishery and you get on a school of fish like that and you catch them like that. It's just, it's awesome.
You had been so close to a couple of big wins earlier in the year. I mean, as close as you could possibly get. So to get over the hump of actually winning, and we've talked to these guys, the rest of the winners throughout the course of this entire series, about how hard it is to actually get a victory. You're a prime example of that. Second place in 2 big events, and you get one at Table Rock.
Yeah, I mean, all that emotion came in. You're just sitting there and you're just like, what? Like, it's really happened. and it's so hard fishing against this group of anglers. I mean, this is no doubt the strongest field ever assembled, and to fish against these guys on day in and day out, and get to that championship round. And there was a time at North Carolina, I can just remember that I fished hard, but I wasn't like hungry like in this third period. I was fishing against pros like for 1 and 2.
Yep.
And I was sort of not going through the motions, but I got to the point where I was a little bit more stale, and I wasn't catching them, and I didn't run to the next place trying to hunt them up.
Yeah.
And at Table Rock, I said, forget it. I'm gonna act like I'm in last place the whole time. And once I got to that championship round, that's exactly what I did. And that was a big learning experience for me. The close call at North Carolina really allowed me to make I learned a lot from that, where I could make good decisions going to Table Rock.
You've won plenty of things before. You've had all kinds of success in your career, but I don't think I've ever seen you respond to a victory quite like that. I mean, it clearly was a meaningful thing for you.
Yeah, I mean, it's not easy to win.
Yeah.
It's not easy to win, and when you get to the point where you get close, it's always that like, hey, I'm right here. Oh man, I didn't make it. You're right there. You're like, oh dang, it's, it's like you catch a 4-pounder and somebody else catches a 6-pounder, and you're just sitting there and you're like, man, you put yourself in as many positions as possible. I mean, look at Van Dam. Van Dam's one of the best anglers.
Absolutely.
Hands down, probably the best angler that's ever lived.
Yep.
But, he's won, I think, 20-some events in his whole career. And it's so hard to consistently win, in professional bass fishing. One event a year is a big deal. Like, you win 2, you're like, holy smokes, this guy just crushed it. Yeah. So every time you get close, I've had close calls in the past, and I've had plenty of second place finishes, but I've been fortunate to have a decent amount of first too. So whenever you get that first and you end up at the top of the heap, you're just sitting there, you're like, okay. This one's a little bit more emotional because I've had multiple seconds in the last couple of years. This
format seems to suit you better than pretty much anybody. You've had great success since minute one. The catch, weigh, immediate release, move on to the next. Why are you so good at this?
I think there's a lot of things that I feel like push me to become better. And I feel like Score Tracker and fishing against the best does that. When you fish against these guys, it's not a walk in the park. And when you I think you have to trust your gut feelings more than anything in this format than anywhere. This game, if you don't trust your gut, you're gonna lose if you go against that. So I've learned just if I feel like something's right, I go with it. But then also, Score Tracker is like you're playing a basketball game and you're down by 5 and you have to catch them. So it forces you to make decisions, whether it's a good one or it's a bad one. And I feel like that it's the biggest game changer in our sport, because now you're seeing guys, they know they're right there. You see the momentum change on the water where one guy gets where he's catching him and he's in first, but he knows this guy's, you hear the footsteps, and it gets closer and closer. And then when you overtake that lead, it's all about, it's even more so about momentum now than ever before. And I think that has a lot to do with it. The Score Tracker is really the core of what really happened.
I have a hard time imagining there will be another 129-pound day on the Bass Pro Tour. Who knows? Maybe so. Bottom line, though, this is the most important number of all. Number 1.
No doubt. Winning that trophy. I mean, one of 8 guys to win this first year on the Bass Pro Tour. Man, that's a huge deal. And that's something to me I couldn't ask for anymore.
It was a lot of fun to witness in person. It was a lot of fun to look back on that. Congratulations again, buddy.
Thanks. Thank you, Joel.